Hello, welcome to Smileys. It's been a while. Um, for the record, it's been about like 2.5 months since we recorded a video like this. So let's get to introductions. I'm Lee. Joining me is Maura. Hello, Maura.
Hi Lee,
How are you
how are
doing?
you? I'm
Yeah,
okay. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So if the title wasn't an indication, we are finally starting Fall of Light.
Yeah,
Um, this is going to probably be split into 2 episodes. So if you notice a bit of continuity between the two, that's because we'll be recording them in one session. Um, this will be part one, so chapter one of All of Light, prelude-ish included, and the ending statement from Galan. We're going to try to maintain spoilers for each chapter, especially since these two don't intersect in particular, but we might slip up. So just in
no,
case, we're going to try not to slip up. If we do, we're going to let you know.
yeah,
But for the most part, the spoiler scope is everything before Book of the Fallen, also the Malazan Empire, Forge of Darkness, and up to the chapter we're discussing. Albeit it might be one extra chapter if it's like what would that be?
no.
Odd parody chapter. But ideally we won't slip up. Yes.
Ideally, no. We're just going to limit it to spoilers for chapter one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much continuity between these two chapters,
Yeah. So it's not a big
unless we
deal.
want to like point them out. So
I don't think I caught any, so
let's see. I mean, we will find something once we start discussing. So,
yeah.
anyways, shall we just start? I have like
Yeah.
3,500 words or something. Before we do, so how has your reread been?
Exhausting. To say that Fall of Light's dense is a bit of an understatement, I feel, because there's a lot of things because I read chapter 2 like 4 or 5 times on top of having read it originally and then reading it for leisure. So I read it once when we originally got into Full of Light again, then I read it again, then I read it a third time to summarize it, and then I read it again to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So
Wow.
I've read it quite a few times, and each and every time it gets more and more difficult to get past the stupid characters, which we're going to get to in respective time. But one, it's very full of difficult words. Erickson takes a sweet ass time describing the aesthetic of the atmosphere, which is something that Cam does very well, very succinctly. Steve doesn't do it very succinctly. Steve goes on long tangents about how the place looks and the atmosphere, and it's very nice. It just takes a while. Character is just God. You know who I'm talking about if you read this book. It's Prezak and Nathanar, and then there's something else. Other than that, every time I read this chapter 1, I'm surprised at how cold Ral is. Like the guy's a psychopath, which I'll leave to Mora to actually describe. But god damn,
So, in a word, it's been exhausting.
it's been exhausting.
Yeah.
What have you? How's your reread been?
Mine, I don't know. I just love it so much. It's like, yeah, obviously we know this that I barely paid attention when I read the first time, Fall of Light. So this time it's like, obviously it's like a completely new book, and I just like it so much. Like Erickson is just he's just playing with words here. He's just playing with words and themes
Yeah,
and characters and
yeah.
settings, and it's just so much fun now. And I don't know, it's just it goes so fast also. I didn't read it 5 times. I didn't read anything 5 times this
Okay,
time.
that's fair. That's
So
fair.
I read both the chapters once, and then I read my chapter once more just to summarize. So that takes time, and maybe I'll catch more stuff if I read again. But this was good enough. And you know what? Because I was also trying to read Dust of Dreams at the same time, Fall of Light is much more, you call it dense, but it's much more focused actually. It's much more limited in scope.
Yeah.
The plots are all very, very few plots to keep track
So
of.
far.
so far, but still. That's what dreams is just, it just throws you everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like you
yeah.
have 10, 12 things to cover in a single chapter. But here, it's all so focused and so streamlined. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm enjoying it. I'm not exhausted yet. I've been exhausted by other stuff, so Fall of
Yeah.
Light is like energizing now. Right, shall we begin?
Sure.
What is book one called?
I would be lying if I said if I remembered.
Huh, see, 5 times read it.
The fuck. Hang on. Book 3 is Gratitude of Chains. Book 4 is Most Honorable Man. Book 1 should be The Seduction of Tragedy, I think.
Yeah, book one is Seduction of
Nailed
Tragedy.
it.
Yeah. So wasn't there book two is something to do with fire or something?
The Solitude of this Fire, yes.
Okay, right. So yeah, so book one is called The Seduction of Tragedy, and here there is a small prelude type of thing with Galan telling us he's talking to us about the futility of violence. I don't know. It could be some important theme for this book.
Yeah.
We don't know. So let's keep
I
an eye
think,
out for instances of violence.
and
So he
necessity.
begins with saying, so they lust for blood, right? Now, who exactly are lusting for blood? Is it the Teist? Is it the list makers? Or, audience like us? Anyway, this particular passage, this one about describing about, the dance of sword fights and all that. It's sort of, I was telling this to you on chat that, it was reminding me of the Game of Thrones show where,
Hmm.
violence is the center point, right? Like, while everything revolves around violence, and it's all done in a very enjoyable way. Like, you have like smooth sword fights and blood and gore, and all the fight is all like choreographed and all that. And now I felt that like Galan was like personally calling us out, saying that, or the audience stands at a distance and is gleeful in admiration and all that. And, as a throwaway, as he's describing this, he just adds a line that, these soldiers are like fallen men and women, and says that, oh, you people don't think they're fallen, dear me, or something. And then yeah, in typical Erickson style, just a description of a real battlefield reeking of shit and piss,
Yeah, like, do you
filled
want me
with,
to describe the idealized form of what you want to see, or do you want me to actually say what it is?
yeah, which is, yeah. I mean, obviously, we fall in love with words like this. So, and he calls, even armor is like a sign of weakness. And then he goes on because he's not limited to just calling out the audience. He's going to call out other authors and poets also. They all say that, they have to depict violence because it's necessity. It's all because of the poison of necessity. And you know what? Soldiers, they attack to defend, right? And what does the enemy do? They also attack back in order to defend. So then he tells you that, seek out a place of solitude and give your thoughts fully to the meaning of necessity. Just think about what necessity means. And I think we should remember that Caplo and Rush had a very similar discussion about what the hunter and the predator and the prey know. So necessity can be acceptable in that sense. What Galan says at least. But on a battlefield, is there really any role for necessity? And I have a lot of quotes this time. So he says, what in the name of all the gods above and below are you doing here? It was so poignant. He describes like your entire childhood being brought up by parents, everything you go through to end up on this battlefield, on this, about to die for the sake of necessity. Whose necessity? What necessity? Like, it's just, it's pretty good. So, anyway, then he says, as if, all these previous books were not enough, he tells us openly that necessity is a lie and it hides behind the virtues of things like honor and courage. And when a poet glories in it, he is a spinner of lies. And then how does it end? This prelude?
Oh, how with it then?
Yeah. So, anyway, that was a very light-hearted intro. So, we can get to
Yeah.
the.
And then, top things off for sort of an hour, just moping. Hey.
So, anyway, we have a field of battle now, right? So, let's just begin. As soon as Galan says, have with it, So we're just going to start off at a battlefield. Who is it? It's the Wardens, who have been led by Ilga's friend against the Legion. And now Renar, the last time we saw, she was just fantasizing about something, and now
Hmm.
she has made the choice to be a sex worker. She's one of the camp followers, and yeah, sort of some of her passages are a bit.
Yeah, the opening few pages
I
of this is just
yeah,
absurd.
it's. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, is it just daddy issues, whatever she's doing? Because it's her father and the real father and all that. But yeah, I've written actually that we're not going to examine this too closely. So
We're going to talk about this later because there's a lot more to Renar in
yeah,
future.
at least here. Yeah, let's just move on. So anyway, she tries to fit in with all the other hosts and everything, but everyone keeps her at a distance. And she walks through the camp and imagines that the warden's camp must also look almost the same, except of course for the skin tone difference.
So I don't think she imagines it. In a way, it's Galan like saying if she could view
If
through
she
all of
could.
this, and then goes on to describe it, which is interesting because, like, as far as I know, no other character gets this
Oh,
sort of
is it?
preferential treatment from the poet of saying, yeah, if she could see through all of this, here, let me use this character to describe the entire scene
Okay.
for you.
No, I just
Uh,
made the jump that she's imagining it. So, but yeah, you
she
make
probably
sense.
is,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for
yeah.
us, it's Galan describing it through Renar.
Right.
Which is interesting because, as Maura will eventually tell you, Renar is more chorus than character.
I'm not telling that it's. I've been told, and I just wholeheartedly agree with that. So, yeah, you
It's
don't.
gonna
You don't agree?
I'm going to reserve my thoughts because chapter 2 has another few characters that are more chorus than character, and I'm
There
gonna
could be
get to
plenty
that.
of choruses because we're not on a stage, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, except for the skin tone difference, that is something we need to note. The Legion is already almost transforming, whereas the Wardens, I believe the Wardens must have transformed to Andy by now. No, I'm not
Presumably.
sure.
That's
Maybe.
the insinuation, I think.
Okay. No, but nobody. Yeah. Anyway, we're just getting ahead. Anyway, there is a description of the weather, and do you know how the day feels? God, I don't know why we have to talk about all this. The day feels reluctant, like a woman feigning resistance on her first night. And when all is done, there will be blood on the grass, right? Do you want to show me some?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Okay. These two chapters are filled with this, so I'm just gonna do it like a few times now, so everyone gets on board. Okay, great.
so in case people missed it, we're just saying that this is a type of symbolism, right? So
Yeah.
we don't miss them.
If you're on an audio medium, whenever I go, like, I move my hands and then just wave like symbolism because there's a lot of it. There's like a lot of it here.
So
Um,
anyway, and she thinks that if Hunral had the wits, he would call justice
a sharp thing to be wielded with a firm hand and something like
yeah.
that.
But what would Urusander do?
He could very well ruin things for everyone. Just the imagery is very weird,
It is so
which
like
is
it is
something I
so
wanted to ask Steve
memorable.
about, but it's very weird.
No, it's more than that. It's like you just can't forget it, right? Like it is so clear what she thinks, what Hunral thinks, and what Urusander thinks. Like there is no mistaking it. So anyway, Urusander might impose chastity on destiny itself by tying her legs and ruining things for everyone. So yeah, great. Now
That's below.
there's more description of the camp, including one particular scene where you see the sewer trenches with shit floating on it and stuff, and immediately after that you get a description of bloodthirsty mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes, bugs, whatever, the swarms of them, they keep coming up again and again, and I think they're a motive for bloodlust or something because they just
Probably.
show up whenever yeah.
Hmm.
So, next up, she's thinking on war. What is war? According to Renard, it's a foreign realm that had taken her mother, right? And these veterans she's sleeping with, they have all known that realm, which she has never visited because she's not a soldier.
Hmm.
And for a brief minute, she's thinking, how did her mother
Yeah,
face her last
that's a
day?
very good passage. Yeah.
Yeah, whether she woke up and she could taste her death in the air, or did she see the weapon which cut her down and all that, or did she just have no clue? She just woke up like any other morning, no
Yeah,
different
was she
from
no different than the rest of the fools in her company?
rest of the fools.
Speaks to
How
how
many
Renard
times
thinks
have you?
about. Yeah, I
How
read
many
it
times
today.
have you
That's the
been
only reason I
ready?
remember all of this
Oh,
because
right, right, yeah.
spoiler alert, I like Renard, so yeah, that's the reason.
So anyway, Renard was not born to take a sword in hand. So all she has is a small knife in a leather sheath, and she can't imagine drawing it. She's basically ignored by all the other people as she's walking through the camp.
Trying not to smile. Sorry.
Yeah,
Please continue.
yeah, I will. And for some reason, I don't know why, we're just repeatedly told that Renard is heavy, and it's like a surprising kind of heaviness. I
Yeah.
I don't know why it needs to show up here. So, see, she thinks of pleasure as a type of fold in sensations of life. So
Mhm.
one side is pleasure, and the other side is pain and terrible damage. And she is a reminder that nobody wants. So if she were a ghost, she is too solid to be a ghost actually. So she is shunned by everyone. So what does she do? Where does she go?
To the tent.
To her dad. She reaches his tent, and as she's nearing by, she sees that it is sort of isolated. There's nobody nearby, and whoever he's talking to is replying in very low voice. So all she hears is Urusander's voice, sounding like as if he's a madman just arguing with himself. And even before she can reach yeah,
No, yeah, go on.
the flap opens, and we see your favorite guy come out, Captain Hundral. He's Leo's son, but his face is still red because
He's drunk
he's he's
permanently.
drunk first and Leo's son next. Yeah. Along with him is his cousin Seveg. Can you just remind us what happened to Risp?
Risp was killed by Lahenis, who is a border sword on the assault upon the Border villagers.
Yeah. And what happened to Serap?
Serap's fine.
Serap is with Urusander.
Serap is like the closest advisor Sandra has, and she's like
Yeah.
the only somewhat decent Isgin cousin.
Somewhat. Yeah. Yeah.
I say somewhat because he's not a very good person still, but at least he's not. I think Sandra puts it best. Risp is. I don't remember what he says about Risp. He says that Sevig can't think past her crotch, which,
Oh, yeah.
if you know how this chapter
Yeah.
ends, definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Serap is by far the most like persuasive and
Smart.
semi-decent person, and a smart
Yeah.
person. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not amazing,
Seveg
but
is a dumbass. So this chapter is so much fun because of Seveg. So anyway, they come out, and Sevek tries to mock Renar, who doesn't care, who just walks on, and even Hundral tries to like stop her. He says that how many cloaks of defeat can a man wear, so better you don't go in.
you stink of
And she just
wine.
yeah. And inside, what does she find? She finds Urusander is sitting with Serap, and there is a map table which seems to have been kicked askew, and the map has also curled up on one side, and Urusander basically ignores Renar. He doesn't even say hello. He doesn't even look at her. And then he says something like, he starts talking. He says that he feels old and his bones ache or something. And for no reason, like really no reason. You know what this chapter lacks? It lacks segue. Especially when I'm summarizing, I'm seeing it's like one line and the next line have like no connection. It's just there. I don't know why. So, but it's all good stuff. But there's a big lack of segue, I feel. So he's talking about his portrait made by your favorite, Kadaspala. Should I give a shout out to your series if people haven't seen already?
Yeah, I have made two parts. Well, technically it's part 0 and part 1.
Yeah.
I have lost track. Don't worry about it. Which I called delightfully Smiley's After Hours, and it's centered so far on Kadaspala. And the idea is to follow his journey through Forge of Darkness to highlight how he tackles the thematic elements of FOD, because there's a lot of them, and he tackles pretty much all of them. So, the portrait is the one recurring thing which comes up a lot, and I'm still not entirely sure about. But we'll save that for a later discussion because it comes up again.
Here, even in FOL.
Yeah, considerable.
Okay. Oh, good. So, so he's talking about the portrait and he says that there is no depth beyond the layer of paint. And Serap says, that's what a painting's supposed to do. It's just going to show you on the surface. And then he just keeps going on. He says something like, maybe we need a sculptor next, and maybe something has to be made from marble. And then he finally says, even marble pits with time, right? And then he
Hmm.
goes out for a walk. It's the battlefield. They're going to face war like a few hours, and this guy goes out for a walk. So,
Yeah. So what we learn from Forge of Darkness and in this chapter for Sander is he's generally very frightful. Like Ral is delighting in this shit. Like he has a list of malcontents that he's gonna kill, and
yeah,
he passively watches on. Whereas Sander was never like this. He was very protective of his own soldiery. He fought with his soldiers, and in general, he would always get nervous and frightful before a battle because he did not want to see people killed, which is what makes him such a um, sympathetic leader to most of the Krull legions, which is a bit of a flaw here because he leaves for a walk and leaves Ral to do his thing. But the point
yeah.
is that he has like Ursander is simultaneously leaving an entire legion to die, as well as the wardens, which is bad. But he's also concerning himself with something above and more important than war and slaughter and violence, which is good. Which is more so exemplified by Galan at the end. It was like, yeah, can we fault him in his noble goal? Like the subtext, like, yes, of course we can, and we should.
Yeah.
And it's complicated. But the point is, like, yeah, he's going for a walk, but he's also occupied with more important things that are like not. Oh
It's
yeah, I'm just gonna go kill somebody, then marry a woman I don't even love for the good of the realm, which I know is shit. He's not doing the right
did
thing.
you like just spoil something from the future because I don't know
No,
what
and
he's doing in this walk,
that's I don't know
chapter
either.
2.
Throughout Forge of Darkness, it's been like a theme of
Yeah, but
we're gonna make Ursander marry Mother Dark, and he knows this, and he doesn't want it.
right, I thought this walk had something beyond
I
that.
have no idea what he does on this walk now.
Right. So he just goes for a walk, and I don't agree with you that it's he's thinking of more important things. These
more
abstract
more
concepts are
important
not
is
more
yeah,
important
more
than.
important is very subjective.
I mean, he prioritizes such things. I mean, we don't have to.
Yeah,
I think my favorite Sergeant Kellis says, Cullis? I don't know
Callis,
how to
yeah.
say that. Cullis.
It's either Callis or Coolis, and I don't think Coolis is the right one, so I'm gonna go with Callis.
So he says something like sacks of blood.
Yeah.
So I would say these sacks of blood are, much more important than abstract concepts of justice and whatever. So anyway, Renard sits down and Serap tells her that he's not going to acknowledge his daughter because she is far too fallen. And her
Segway.
segue to where?
Exactly. We don't know. It's just they're God. This.
Anyway, she calls herself a ghost, and Serap says something like, "You are the ghost of regret, the underside of your mother."
Mhm.
And Renard, then she looks at her skin, and she's not yet fully Leo-san. I think
Yeah.
this is what is really the one important thing we need to see. And she thinks she looks like stained marble.
Stained marble, not get marred
Yeah,
by age. Yeah.
yeah. And then, maybe she wears her hesitation. This, once
Is
more,
that it?
maybe this is
Yeah.
important, maybe,
No.
that she wears her
But no, I
hesitation.
think she rejects this. I think that's the subtext of like, oh, is that it? That's all I do. That's all that is to my skin. I'm just hesitating. I'm just not, you know, decided yet. Is that all?
Oh, is it a differentiation between hesitation and decision? Because I thought it was about outright rejecting whatever light worship is.
I don't think she rejects Rusander. That's the difference, I think. I don't think like she doesn't accept Santara. Like she calls herself Daughter Light, and like, oh, that's a presumption because she is the adopted daughter of Father Light, so by title she should be Daughter Light. But I don't think she rejects Rusander. If she would, she wouldn't be half liaison, right?
Is she only half? I thought she's like not yet
I think
transformed.
probably at some point she does. I don't know. I don't remember, but like
Okay,
I don't think
let's
it's outright
let's
rejection. But yeah, let's go.
right now, yeah. So anyway, Serap, Yeah, and Renard tells Serap, take Rusander to your bed. And, he has thoughts of mortality. He's like a knotted sack or something, and, untie the knot.
Segue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Segue to the usual Thais talk. If Thais are talking, there's going to be
Yeah.
something to do with sex
I
there.
could
So.
try to dissect this, but honestly, I have no idea.
No. So anyway, Serap says that Hunral is going out to parley with Ilga's friend, and Renard says that he's a man of
He's a.
restraint, our Hunral.
Do you see
And
why I like
so
Renard? I think you see why I like Renard.
I like Hunral too, but then, I'll tell you. So Serap says that Urusander is not going to provoke the wardens. He's not going to just lead the troops into battle. And Renard trusts that Hunral is going to do it anyway. He's going to insult and corner Ilga. Still, they have no choice but to draw weapons against them. And Serap calls her a whore and a seer and asks if she should be sent to Daughter Light to become, an acolyte. Renard says that, as you said, she is presumptuous to assume that she can be sent anywhere. Then Serap says that, okay, maybe Sagander can take her in, this one legged tutor. And Renard has more access to camp rumors, so she tells her that Sagander already has Sheltata lore to teach. And then Serap asks that why exactly did Renard come to visit Urusander on this day? This is the first time she has visited him. And she says she is there to remind him. What is she reminding him?
Are you
Regrets?
asking me or?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what is she there to remind
her
him?
mother died protecting Rusander.
Is that what she's there to remind him?
I mean, the pointlessness of war. If he's gonna leave Ral to go parley knowing full well that he slaughtered however many people he did last book,
That makes so much sense.
maybe he shouldn't do that. Maybe, Vatha.
It's like talking to a brick wall. There's just no point in telling any of this to
There's
Urusander. So,
more to this. We're gonna save this discussion for later.
yeah, but still, yeah, it's so frustrating. I can understand like Ro or others reading through
Yeah.
Fall of Light and getting frustrated. I'm in the exact same spot now.
I'm gonna admit I like Rusander more than most people do.
Oh God.
So
You do not use smileys to make any essays on Urusander, please.
I'm going to try not to. I did make one,
Uh-huh.
not on
Like-
smileys.
You did make what?
I made an analysis of FOL's last scene, which
Oh, yeah.
has Rusander in it. My bad.
Let's yeah, not now.
But yeah, I'm probably not going to use smileys for that now.
Oh, but you should. Okay, fine. Yeah. Anyway, so then what happens? She's there to remind him. She then sets out to join the other camp followers on a hilltop. They're going to watch the
Right.
battle. And after Serap leaves, Renard, makes a map all right and looks at the map for a suitable hilltop and then goes. Now, the main guy of this chapter is Captain Haverall. Haverall?
that works.
Several?
Haverall.
Haverall? Whatever.
Well, yeah.
Captain Haverall rides to this parley with the Legion, and he notices a lot of hidden sinkholes. Can I just tell you the lay of the land? Because I love battle scenes with Steve writes. It's it needs like one or two readings to actually understand, like at least to me. So there is a valley. There are two slopes on either sides. The Legion has an advantage because they have a bigger
They have
slope.
a higher slope, yeah.
Yeah, and the wardens are on the other side, and there are like crest lines. So whatever the armies they present on this ridge lines is what is visible to the opposite side. I don't know why they don't have like spies or scouts or anything to go and see what is going on the other side. So that's the way we are doing stuff now. And on one of the hilltops, somewhere is where Renard and all the other camp followers are sitting. So right now, Haverall is coming to the valley basin to talk to the Legion, whoever the Legion is sending to parley, right? So as he's riding, he notices a lot of hidden sinkholes. Those could break horses' legs. So, and since he's riding, he has to do some thinking. So he feels a sense of betrayal at the way Ilgast has, uprooted the wardens in the absence of Talat Hussein. And his whole thing feels like a thing of madness for him, but he follows orders. He's a good soldier, he follows orders. And moreover, he is worried that they haven't gathered sufficient intelligence about the legion. Like, are they fully assembled, or how many have shown up and all that? He has no idea. He doesn't have pragmatic details, like all this stuff.
Hmm.
So all this is he's thinking about all this, and he remembers that he used to refuse to even consider the possibility of civil war, right? Like Thaist civil war, and he used to strip the hides of soldiers who used to talk about it. He did not allow such talk, and now, when they're finally facing civil war, he knows that his soldiers will anyway obey orders. They're good people.
Well, he hopes they will, because if they don't, he's boned.
That's true. And he hopes this parley will, carve out peace from this mess. And ideally, these two men, Urusander and Ilgastran, should meet alone in a tent and they have to discuss. And nobody should be privy to whatever they're listening to. And together they will reach an agreement and we can have peace. There will be peace.
Peace.
And halfway to the meeting point, he says that it's not Urusander, but it's Hunral and his troop, including Seveg, who is riding towards him. And he's slightly offended, but then he shuts it down because it's not up to him to get offended, right? It has to be his captain or his commander, and not him. So and also I don't know why this legion, they draw up and they wait for him to reach them, which is like a discourteous display or something. Who knows why? So anyway, they wait for him,
Yeah, who knows?
and yeah,
I mean, it's a calculated insult, right? Everything Ral does is a calculated insult. Because okay. One thing that's very interesting about Ral is that how easily he steps outside Corel Galen's established norms. He constantly fucks with what people expect. He's permanently drunk when not drunk enough to not think. He is very brash and blunt, but he's also cunning and smart. He violates the norm of hostage sanctity, etc. So he knows that Rend is an old timer. He's very stuck up. He's very, very, how do I put this? He's old timey. He's a boomer.
Old-fashioned,
that way. He's a boomer. And so he knows that by making such minute details, he is going to screw with his head and it's going to make him angry, which, guess what, actually works. So points are all there, but he's also a dick, so I don't like him. Fuck him. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but see, that is the whole point, right? You need at least one person who will do these things to cause battle. So anyway, one more thing. Their transformation is new to Haverel, so he's shocked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, there are lots and lots of mosquitoes in the valley. Right. Now, as soon as they reach, Sevek starts with her insults, and Hunral barely stops her. He sort of goads her, but it looks like as if he's trying to stop her. Ultimately, they manage to enrage Haverel, and Hunral also refuses a one-to-one meeting between the two commanders because they say something like, "We need advisors. No, you'll have assassins," and it's pretty childish. So the thing is, it doesn't happen, and Haverel, as he's leaving them, he disses them with saying, "What you invite upon yourselves on this day, sir,
Yeah, not even your
is
skin
a stain
can
of infamy
hide.
that
Yeah.
even your skins cannot hide. May you ever wear it in shame." I think this comes up again when he's talking to Seveg. So and then he writes back, "How fit shame, Lieutenant?"
Oh
He
yeah,
asks Seveg.
yeah.
It was pretty, very good. So now, as he goes off, Seveg asks Hunral permission to kill this guy, Haverel specifically, on the battlefield.
So if you were ever wondering if you should like Savek,
Who? Sorry, what?
if you should like Savek,
Yeah.
this is don't. It's fine. She's gonna die and it's fine.
So anyway, what we should remember here is, I don't know, I really liked how smart Hunral is, how perceptive he is. He
Mm-hmm.
knows that Kalatustin would have never marched these wardens here, right? And so whatever has happened now, it's basically saved the Legion a march, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, they also ride back, and the mosquitoes are outdistanced. They're left behind. Now, as the morning lengthens, Renar and the other camp followers settle into the hilltop. This is a fun scene. So there are two children who get into a fight, and a girl gets hit in the face by a sharp stone, and that is the day's That that is the day's first blood. And then she pursues the boy down the slope, and they're going, and Renard tells us that to her right is the Legion's cohort, and the only one cohort is presented to the wardens, and on the opposite side is obviously the wardens, and on the back slope the Legion has two hidden flanking cohorts, right? Infantry
Mhm.
and light cavalry. And behind Hunral, they're all readying their pikes, because pikes are good to face cavalry. And right now, a few hundred skirmishers have descended the slope. And at the same time, the boy and the girl, the girl is chasing the boy. Finally, she catches up and smashes his head and kills him and keeps hitting him even when the boy is clearly dead. And then one of the horse has won the wager and is very happy. And Rana sees that one skirmisher drops his weapon and drags the girl away. Once she notices that, this has happened, she runs back to the tent, to the camp or whatever, and everyone just walks around the boy's corpse. Nobody does anything to it, right? It's been a while since I spoke for so long.
Yeah.
So anyway, the wardens cluster around Ilgust, and he's a solid-looking commander, but Haverel is only feeling dread. And this is like my favorite. This is the peak of this chapter. Sergeant Cullis
I
is
think
at
we
his
said
side.
Cullis.
Cullis.
Yeah.
So he says that every army has a head, and that is, basically the commander. But a true commander will know that the army's heart is the first thing that he must command. And today, the heart commands the head. And as soon as he begins talking, Haverel tells him, "This is
No,
not the
stop. This
time
is not the broach matters of faith. Yeah.
to bring
Yeah.
up matters of faith." Yeah. But he persists, and then he says something like, the heart rules over the head today, and all that. And finally, he asks Haverel, is when is he going to speak up? When is he going to go question Ilgastren? And Haverel doesn't like it. He says something like, it's not my. Khaled Hussein has given command to Ilgastren, and Ilgastren can take the decision of what they want to do. But Khalid says that, even though they have the command and we are just sacks of blood, we are the ones who are sweating now. So, and Havarad looks across at his soldiers and he thinks of them as, my blessed misfits, my children, and all
His
that.
children. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he justifies this battle by saying that the wardens are best placed to stop the legion from marching on to Karkanas, which they're going to do sooner or later anyway. So, and since offense is the best defense, he tells Kulis that, did you fools actually imagine we swallowed down our bile and did nothing but bow meekly before our commander? So, anyway, he says Kalis's words have unmanned him, and then Kalis says sorry. And by this time, their attention is drawn to this murder happening on the hillside. Right? Then Ilgast gives a sort of pep talk. He says the Legion is the playground bully, and they're led by Hunral, who is,
The
basically
bully
a
among
bully.
bullies. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
and
is. He's
then
right.
he is, yeah. And then he says, awaken whatever memory you need and make answer. So Haverel and Shalat, somebody who I think is mentioned only once, they command the flanks and they advance first. And at signal, they are going to swing inward and cut off the skirmishers in like a horseshoe maneuver and kill all the skirmishers. This is the plan, right? So they start riding, and the Legion is probably going to be surprised by these wooden armored horses, because
Mhm.
they would think that these are just too heavy or something. And Haverel remembers to warn his soldiers about the sinkholes, and they start descending, and the skirmishers spread and slow down. By this time, there are more and more mosquitoes on the valley floor, and some of the soldiers are just choking on the bugs as they ride. Now, what happens to Haverel as he's riding into battle? He starts remembering a past lover, a young man from long ago. And we have been talking about this. We have been wondering if how is the ties thing with how is a tight society with LGBTQ in general. And I think this is one line which I don't know, it may be important. It says something like, it was no crime to turn from the common path, yet it came at a cost nonetheless. So I don't know how we can take this, but maybe it was not the common path, because remember, which I believe Will in the Border Sports, one of them had a same-sex lover and it didn't go well or something.
It is common among the Sheikh monks to have same-sex relationships because they're split between genders.
Oh
Like
yeah,
one is
yeah,
all female, the other is all male. And
yeah,
though they are like life wed to each other, there's no crime in taking each other to like other monks to their bed. But for common ties, we're not given any same-sex relationships that are ending well. Let's say that.
yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't know if it is like looked down upon or how they handle it. So anyway, uh, he doesn't know what happened to this young man who was like who just left him because he couldn't settle with one guy. Yeah. So, and apparently his village was burned down by Furulkan raiders, and Haverel is now getting more and more confused as he's riding in. He feels a song in his soul, right? A song of all the deaths seen in a normal life, and the chorus is made of unanswered questions, right? And at his side there is Cullis, who says that everything is so clear and so sharp, and poor Haverel just says that damn this wind or something because he's the opposite of being clear and sharp. So anyway, they have these signals in place, and then they execute their maneuver and they trap all the skirmishers. And their follow-up pikes are still quite long, quite far away. The ones who are supposed to attack these flanks.
Hello, and welcome back to Smileys. We had a few technical issues to resolve.
I mean, technically we had some issues, so
We did technically have some issues.
we're just going to continue.
Yeah, to get everyone back to speed, we're going to start from a little bit before we cut. And so Mara's going to take us away.
Right. So continuing from chapter 1 of Follow Flight. So the charge has started. So basically, it is a bunch of skirmishers have come to the valley, and the flanks, one of them led by Haverel, have joined them, and so they've encircled the skirmishers, and they're trying to, the attacks are going on, and while he's riding, Haverel starts thinking that he can hear a song in his soul, like a song made of all the deaths seen in a normal life, with the chorus made of unanswered questions, questions that can never be answered because of death. So at his side, his Sergeant Cullis says that everything is so clear and sharp and something like that. And Haverel is, he's not in that frame of mind. So he just says something like, damn this wind. And then, they start doing their horseshoe maneuvers. And the follow pikes, which were kept by Hunral to safeguard the skirmishers, they're still far away. And they've not yet started descending proper into the basin, and Haverel can keep hearing his wardens fighting ferociously, and he thinks that this is borrowed anger, but it will still do for now. And then he for a minute he stops and thinks that a few hundred legion soldiers are about to die, right? And Haverel almost cries, and he says something like, "It begins, oh blessed Mother Dark, it begins." Now Seveg, who is watching all this, who is also a dumbass, is frustrated, and she asks, "Who commands the skirmishers?" And she's told that it is some quartermaster's aide, and she's a bit surprised at this. And then once the warden's cavalry is engaged and most of the skirmishers are dead, only then Hunral sends in the legion cavalry to encircle the encirclers, right? As
Okay, just a quick side note.
Yeah.
Proper military doctrine would warrant that both skirmishers and cavalry advance together so that the cavalry screens the skirmishers so that the skirmishers can engage at a safe distance without this happening. We also learned that this is very much deliberate from Ral's part.
Yeah.
Because the guy's a psychopath.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's not a psychopath. He has a strategy. But is this something like, has Quartermaster Porce written about this war?
Oh,
this
no.
battle?
It is, Porce is definitely a lot more knowledgeable than I am in this regard, but I have done some amount of research into this.
Right. Show off. Okay. So, then he explains that, this first group of skirmishers were like malcontents, and these were the ones who were talking about desertion and all that. And even Seveg, even she knows that, deserters are not going to just talk about it. They're just going to up and leave. And so So even she realizes that Hunral is just basically murdering his own people just because he doesn't want any dissension or something in his ranks. So what's happening? The legion has surrounded the original flanks, but the center of Ilgast's main army is going on marching. They don't, because the flank has been sacrificed so that they can keep marching. And soon the way is clear, and Rend soldiers more or less just have to march over these dead bodies. Okay, and the legion side of the valley, it has a slight downslope, and that soldiers, they halt like 3/4 of the way down, and they just halt and wait there, and they all are armed with pikes are supposed to be good against cavalry, and they're also quite efficient against the Jelek. But then you should remember that Jelek were quite undisciplined, and now Hunral is like curious to see how Ilgastrand is going to answer this. And then the two armies collide. For a minute, we think that it is these two armies, the main armies, but no, we're still talking about the skirmishers and the flank wardens and the answering cohorts. Okay, this is a bit confusing, but the one which Renar is reacting to is this part where Haverel is going to die now, right? The main thing is still yet to happen. So Renar flinches at this sound at the distance, and then she realizes that more legionnaires have gone down than wardens because this wooden armor is, I don't know, it is so, everyone is so surprised that it is agile and lightweight and all that. So obviously Legion has better numbers, and slowly the wardens start giving ground. They start like collapsing inward. At the same time, the center formation has reached the base of the slope, and on signal, they charge towards the spikes. They charge towards the pikes, right? So Renar sees this murdery girl standing next to her, and her eyes are all dry. And for the second time in this chapter, we are told that Renar does not blink. Should we? Is it? I don't know.
It comes up again. I'm not even sure if it is symbolism or not, actually.
Yeah, but it
probably is, but I'm not sure what it means.
Maybe she is like light or dark makes no difference for her. Who knows?
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
I mean, I'm just grasping at whatever symbols I can find. That's all. Now, Haverel, he keeps seeing his old lover's face all around him in every soldier he's attacking. So it feels like he's going on killing his old lover again and again. And with the legion surrounding them, his troops are drawing in. And the role of the flank, he realizes, is to be a sacrifice to the center. And their only task is not escape or not retreat or not anything. It's to die and to take a long time dying. And all he wishes is he wants to see Cullis once more so that, there's something other than his lover's face. And at this moment, he starts realizing that there is no song or chorus or anything in death. There's only chaos and a lover's face that doesn't go away. Sevek sees that these wardens are not fools, and just before engagement, which wardens? I'm talking about the main center army engaging the ones at the slope, yeah? So they spread out into left and right halves, and they have like good staggered timings to start attacking them all. It's very well executed, and the center of the legion almost buckles, but they can't even retreat uphill because, they can't run uphill. And Hunra loses his cool and he shouts for, the foot flanks to start committing. And then he reinforces a second rank at the center also to stand and hold. Seveg almost panics and almost draws her weapon, and Hunra yells at her, don't draw your weapon and all that. And I think he keeps calling her dear cousin and dear fool, interchangeably. So then the flanks and the second line also join the fray. Sevek thinks that they did not expect 3 cohorts, and Hunral says that he actually wanted 2 more, which would mean that Urusander's camp would have been emptied out fully. And Sevek wants to go join them because, the tide has turned. The Legion seems to be winning, so she wants to go join them. And he tells her to go and find Ilgastrand and bring him alive. Now, when the big battles are going on, Erickson tries to focus on something small. So that's why we get Haverel's POV here, who's about to die. And in a fun way. So here, he's trapped under a dead horse and he tries to pull free and dislocates his knee. Are we going to have this discussion now?
Do you want to?
We might as well. So it's really hard for knees to get dislocated by just pulling at it. So maybe it was his hip joint dislocation, which is more believable, or unless his knee was already injured. I don't know, some bone pops out and he screams in pain and he almost loses consciousness. And he knows that the Legion is like savaging the center and battle is like almost definitely lost. And he's amidst a lot of corpses and there are swarms of mosquitoes again. so thick that they start filling his mouth. And what does he do? He swallows them down again and again.
Hmm.
And by now, even his lover's face has left him, and there's nothing at all. And Seveg and her troop see him, they approach. She tells him that the wardens are being slaughtered, and it was naive to think that they would be allowed to retreat. He says nothing, and she asks, like, won't you even curse me? And all he says is, how fit shame, Lieutenant, which is just, she deserves that. No, that's perfect, yeah. And then she dismounts, she comes closer and tells him that Ilgastrand has been captured. He's being delivered to Hunral right now. And then, for a minute she asks, like, I don't want to go on and on. Where is your wound? Are you in pain? And, being an honorable man, he says, I feel nothing. And then he says he's ready to take the sharp point of her gift and some showery shit. And then she decides to, I'm just going to let you bleed out. He gets it out and asks her if this is her first field of battle, and she says yes. So he concedes her innocence. And she says something like, we could have been friends, you could have been a father. And he says, yeah, please tell me. I think you like that line a lot. A father to you,
Father to
Seveg
you,
is
Seveg is skin. Now you curse me in truth.
yeah. So, and then she changes it to, maybe we could have been lovers and all that. And then she removes his gauntlet, puts his hand under her breastplate. And what does Haverhill do?
Stabs her in the heart. Through the
And
breastplate, which is very hard to do.
but it's only a leather breastplate, right?
It still is very hard to do.
But he's a veteran and he has no injuries.
I mean,
He
he's
must
a
have just
veteran, and just
popped a
punching through
joint.
boiled leather is difficult, and through flesh, and then through the muscle.
Maybe it was
It's
a
hard.
bit dislodged, maybe it was not through the breastplate. And
Maybe.
just before we actually got a POV of him stabbing a horse through and through, right?
Yeah,
Like
but that's
without
like with
hitting
a
any bone.
lance with momentum from a horse. I think that's more
Yeah.
believable.
Yeah, so it's more or less the same thing, right? Like he was able to stab her without, hitting any ribs or anything in the way. It's an
That's
awkward
fair.
position to lie down and
Yeah.
stab somebody
Yeah.
through the heart. My
I
God,
mean,
what a
to be fair,
riveting
that's the most
discussion we are having here.
disbelievable thing in this entire chapter is the fact that a lightly armored cavalry force can face down pikemen and do that. All the pikemen need
But
to do is this motion, and they're dead.
what? Pikes have just one pointy end. It's not like a sword or
Yeah.
anything. They can
All they
still
need to do
face
is
it.
just this right before they get attacked. Just this, and the
But
entire
do you
cavalry
know
force
they
dies.
angle their weapons on the opposite
That's
side,
not a
right?
thing. I'm very sorry to say that's not a thing.
I don't believe you. I believe Ericsson, and it was an awesome battle. I liked it a
To
lot.
be fair, for the comportment of forces that both sides had, the plan is very believable. Both Ral's plan and Ren's plan are sound. Because Ren needs to break the center and reach the camp to negotiate because he has this numerically inferior force, which is also more mobile and agile. So yes, he knows Urisander. He needs to get to Urisander, point a sword at his neck, and say, you and I are going to talk. Ral
Yeah.
just needs to kill him. So he needs to bait him in and then bog him down in the center, have his center not break, defeat his flanks, encircle him and destroy him, which is what he does. So, impossible maneuvers aside, the battle is written quite well.
So, is this something like a realistic RPG?
You wouldn't really have tabletop like this, but yes, you
No
can
battles?
find
You
many
wouldn't have, like,
RPGs.
in RPGs, like, wouldn't
Generally,
you have armies with you? Or is it always
there
like
are
one-on-one or something?
game RPGs in like computer games like that. Tabletop like GURPS, not really, because it's a bit difficult. But
Yeah,
I guess you can do it.
I just
It's just a
assume
bit more
that,
abstract.
these things and all, you just have like an army. Like, why wouldn't you have armies? Like, Rake, maybe he has
It
a bunch of...
depends on the like GURPS. I don't think you can do it like more realistically. Other tabletop like Warhammer, for instance, yeah, sure, you can do that. But like GURPS, which was Malazan and AD&D, not really.
Okay. Okay, fine. I like the battle. You have some
It is a cool battle.
logical things to point out. So we're just going to keep going on because I liked it. So anyway, he stabs her, kills her, and immediately he is killed. Haverhill. So Haverhill is gone.
Dead.
Now, next scene is an amazing
peace.
scene. Sorry, what? He finds
He
an
finds peace.
unexpected surprise gift or something, and it's peace. Right, there will be peace.
Because there will be peace. Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God. You sound so smug when you say that. So yeah, the next scene is like my favorite because it just starts off with like 2 or 3 pages of Unral just sitting with with wine in hand and just splayed out on a chair, and just thinking thoughts. He's grieving his cousin, and he thinks, that if he's pretending, it is expected that he would be grieving for a family member. He would be not just a commander, he's a man. Not just a man, he's a child
He's a child,
who
yeah,
is-
whatever.
whose family was twice broken. So sad.
God, I hate Hunral.
I know. So, so yeah, and then he thinks that, he's thinking Serap is the only one left and he's running out of pawns because she's in a good position and whatever Ursander's, future holds, she is going to be there next to him and he's happy about that and he wonders how he's going to break the news to her that, Sevek the dumb has died. So he's thinking all these things and he thinks that, as a drunk, he's a master tactician, he's a master tactician. And he knows himself to his core, the me within the me. And there's a lot of gloating shit here. So anyway, he thinks all these things and he thinks that Urusander will just take whatever he's given. Whatever him and the high priestess gives, Urusander is just going to take it. And Hunral will empty out every library he can find just to keep him occupied. And he knows that, at the end of this day, he's going to get some yelling, but he doesn't care. Nothing is going to sour his mood today. And finally, we see that, he was doing all this thinking while keeping his eyes closed because in front of him, there is a chained and kneeling Ilgast Rend, the highborn, which is just, he didn't deserve it. No? It's a bit
Rend?
sad.
No.
He was
No,
an
no.
old man. I don't think he should be treated like that.
Rend. Okay, I like Rend in this chapter
Yeah.
especially, because he contrasts very well to Haverall. Because Haverall thinks, "What are we doing this for? The sake of a few murdered peasants in the forest? Madness! There is no civil war. There can never be civil war." Rend doesn't care. Rend is there. He doesn't know, ostensibly. He doesn't know about the wedding. He doesn't know about the destruction of the Hust. He's here.
Again, I think he knows all this, right?
He doesn't tell anyone. That's not why they're here.
Not about the Hust, but at least he knows about the wedding, right? That is what prompted
I'm
him
not
to...
even sure.
No, that
I'm
is the
not sure.
reason he got out, right? When he heard about Andres' news.
He got out because there was a petition of deniers to him that had just came back from the Sheikh, because the Sheikh denied them. This happens. We come back to this later in the FOL, but the Sheikh denied the deniers because.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
Pun not intended. Yeah.
I don't know about this FOL revisit, but in FOD, what we learned was that there was a representation from one of these, sideshow surgeons who meets him and tells him that, this has happened. The NSTA has been slaughtered and all that. He gets that news and that's when he starts marching. No? This is how I remember it.
The point I'm trying to make is at this point, Rend is the knowledge he has given to these wardens are people have died. This guy has committed atrocities and we're gonna avenge those atrocities on borrowed anger.
He's also saying that this is the last bastion, right? The Legion has to overcome the wardens to reach Karkanas.
Yeah. Yep.
So strategically speaking, this is a good point to go and hit them when they're at their weakest before they can fully muster and all that. But maybe they took a long time marching or whatever because
They probably did. Yeah, he was a bit indecisive, which is understandable.
I think Urusander's camp was in the making quite long ago before all this started. The camp was set up and everyone just converged there. So anyway, the Legion has superior numbers. So
we get an accoutrement of the Legion overall at full strength at 7,000 soldiers, right? And each cohort is 1,000 soldiers, which nominally in our world, the cohort was about 1,000 soldiers, give or take.
Cohort in what sense? Like in the Roman army or?
Yeah, in the Roman army, in the late Republic, it was 480. Then it was upgraded 500-ish. Basically somewhere around that range.
Can I just... yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'm just showing off. I'm sorry. I'm showing off.
No, you're not showing off. No, I'm just saying that numbers...
Okay, the point is...
Yeah. No, I'm sure everyone finds it interesting, so please say it, but...
Raul brought half the army of the Legion to battle to ostensibly negotiate, and he wanted more, which was 3/4 of the army to negotiate. Rend's plan is sound with the information that he has and the knowledge that he has, just Raul is ahead of him because he doesn't think within the box, and that's kind of what makes Raul special.
Yes.
He is like,
Yes.
he violates
He's like
societal
proto
norms all the
Malik, right?
time. We talked about this earlier in this episode last time, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring it up again because Ren's plan against Rusander, this will be a great plan because Rusander will have like 1,000 people tops. He will get overrun by the wardens. Ren would negotiate with him. This entire madness would be over. But because it's Hunral, the guy is one step ahead. And so you know what? I'm going to destroy all the noble houses, and then we're going to reconvene here, and then we're going to march to the wardens, because I know that because Khaled has left Ren behind, Ren's going to get pissed, and Ren's going to
He
march to
didn't
me.
march on the wardens.
Yeah.
The wardens came to him. Yeah, he made
Exactly.
them come to him. Yeah. Okay, right.
So
Let's
yeah,
finish.
Ral's a bastard, and I hate him, but he's
awesome.
good. He's
also
awesome. Okay, he's not. I wouldn't say he's awesome.
He's
That's
awesome.
more on me, but
Yeah.
he is well written.
He's amazing. Like, okay.
No,
I mean,
no, he's not.
it is so duplicitous. He's so honestly immoral. It's just so fascinating.
he is.
He doesn't even lie to himself. He doesn't pretend anything, right? He's so sure. I'm going to get back into the citadel. I'm going to rule this. Whatever Urusander is there, I can just take care of him. This is what I want. It's pretty refreshing for a villain. So anyway, yeah, this is amazing. Now, Ilgastren has been chained and he's kneeling in front of him. And Ilgast just says, I tire of your games. Deliver me to Urusander and all that. And Hunral says something like, I was impressed with, what you did today. It was good. But then in the name of justice, if I had to deliver you to anyone, it would be to
Khaled Hussein.
Oh yeah. God. Oh, that's just like, twisting the knife. So that hits home, and Hunral asks, why did he not just join them? Why didn't you bring your wardens to my side? And Ilga says that he could not betray Khaled because he had already refused the Legion's invitation. And Hunral says, look at the battlefield and talk to me about betrayal or something. Which is just awesome. So once again, he asks, just deliver me to Urusander. And Hunral closes his eyes and orders his execution. He says something like, oh, this man is a traitor to the realm.
I've already suffered enough. Just it's too offensive. Just take away both offending items, and then
not
just has a fucking wine jug in one hand, closes his eyes, wistfully nods.
I think that is perfect. Like you can't write a better villain than this. So anyway, he hears this guy getting.
Hate him. Please continue.
And, yeah. So anyway, this happens, and then we switch to Renar. She's seeing the aftermath. The children going around collecting rings and coins and all that. And she knows that the soldiers who will visit her that night, they're going to feel different. Not just like in their taste and everything, but their whole... Yeah, I'm not going to say all that. So yeah, they're going to feel different. Maybe some relief and maybe some despondency. And she notices that this murdery girl, we don't have her name, right? I don't think she comes up again.
No.
She has like admiring followers of her own. She's just a symbol for this chapter's sake, right?
Yep.
So finally, this chapter ends with a banger. Maybe I should have asked you to summarize that.
Is it the banger Galan? Yeah, okay.
It's a banger by Galan. He says, please indulge me. Let me catch my breath. I'm an old man and the tale still has far to go. Free me to muse on the notions of righteous consequence. And he claims that Urusander is no different from any other thinking creature. And personally, he will not reveal
except for me.
No, like in that circumstance, I don't know. Maybe most of us would have been like him. That's what he's trying to...
Not me. Galan is saying, except for me.
Oh, except for him. Yeah, except for him, obviously. Because he will not reveal his view of justice and he doesn't want Fisher to weigh in either. Because they're all poets and I don't know, for some reason, poets are like exempt from these things. And for Urusander, justice is a clear river of progress. I just love whenever Steve goes into water metaphors. He does them amazingly well. Anytime.
There's a lot of them.
There is a lot, yeah. I mean, in Book of the Fallen, there's like a few, which is like spread out here and there. But Karkanas is just all about water. And I think chapter 2 has a lot of that. Yeah. So according to Urusander, justice is like a clear river of progress. At any point, you can dip your hand, and whatever you take out a cup of, like a palm full of water, it's going to be sparkling clean. But when we look at this river, we find just silts and torrents and detritus and things like that. And when you take out a palm full of water, it's a microcosm of history's messy truth. And such a vision is not a virtue. So now we can segue into the word virtue. If there is one word that belongs to Urisander, it is this: virtue. He was a man who longed to clear the waters of history through the sluice of hard judgment. So amazing, so perfect. So now we have been told in an age old truism that justice is blind, which means that its rules are supposed to defy all privileges of wealth and high birth and all that. And even children, I'm just quoting, even children can be stung in the face of what they perceive to be unfair, unless, of course, they are the ones profiting from it. So justice is blind, but it's not fair. I think that's what it's trying to say at the end of the day. So thus begins the inner war between. Yeah, justice need not be fair to you, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the way I like to say it. So thus begins the inner war between selfish desire and common good. And because this is a podcast, shall we just plug someone telling us about the greater good and how there's no point to the greater good? That's I must say that is one of my favorite episodes. So can we
Yeah.
add this thing somewhere that
You
hot
can
takes
add
with
in
little rub?
up to
Yeah,
the
yeah, somewhere,
yeah
somewhere here,
yeah
yeah.
somewhere. But yeah, for those on Spotify that probably can't see the arrow that just showed up here, I'm gonna add that eventually.
Yeah.
We're talking about our episode with Niflrog about
Hot takes.
Draconis specifically.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Like,
spoilers all though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it spoilers all. It also spoils this book, but basically we talk about what's the point of doing stuff, and like why is Draconis doing anything, and Mora just chimes in, oh, the greater good. Like, who cares about the greater good? What's the point of the greater good? Note, both Mora and Nif were at least in a bit of alcohol, so just saying.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for plugging and destroying our reputations also.
Yeah, it's a tavern. If you're here, you probably knew that already.
Right. Okay. Let me continue. So, a sense of justice as opposed to the sense of unfairness the child perceives. That sense of justice is forced upon it. How? How is this justice forced upon the child? By violence and indifference. Right. No segue. We just move on to Fatherlight is such a bold title. He is the sire to all Leusan and he is the god of justice. And he adores the Forulcan's worship of justice, which is intransigent in its purity, just as unassailable as a
Blind man's darkness. But what he says, it's
Ah.
like this passage works because of the sub. Hang on, sorry. Hi, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
what I
this
was saying
passage works.
again, technical issues. Technically, we have issues. This passage works with the subtext, and specifically, like Galan says, of course, or Sandra adored the Forulgan, barring the few hundred that slid
That
lifeless down his blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it works because he's saying these things, and simultaneously his whole passage is dripping with sarcasm. That, like, you can't tell, like, is he being serious? Is he being ironic? Is he being so ironic that in turn he's being serious? You can't really exactly tell what Galan's intentions with regards to Rosanna are. Like, on some level, you can tell he's clearly not being totally serious because
I just read it superficially. I just thought he's being like 100% serious here. Like
No,
Lysander was
I
able to
never felt that way.
compartmentalize that, the Forulcans he killed and the rest of the Forulcans, that's the way I just took it that way. But now that you point out,
I think
maybe.
Galan is being at least somewhat facetious to the point where, like, I don't think he is genuine when he says, yeah, virtue belongs to Rosander. Of course it does. But also, he
Isn't that
doesn't
the way we have
blame
seen?
him,
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult to discern Galan's exact attitude towards Battle Rosander, which, if you haven't noticed by now, is going to be a common theme throughout the novel. Yeah, keep that in mind.
Okay, yeah. With that added context, yeah, because that was not something that stood out to me, but maybe you're right. We should ask the big man whenever he
should.
decides to show up, which is, yeah.
Eventually.
I'm bummed out. Yeah, no problem. So he says something like, "It is only poets who suffer imperfections, and gods help a kingdom ruled by a poet."
What? No, I do not know of King Tichol the Only. Will you interrupt me again? Yeah, okay.
It is so unexpected. It is so like even this read. I know that this is going to come up. I think you had also put it in the group chat or something. And I know this is
Oh,
coming up, and it was still, I was so, oh my God, what is Galan talking about? Why is he
and
talking about
then
tree
yeah,
hole?
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
good.
and then immediately after he goes on a book at Aswala, edging is God, and
No,
then
immediately after
no.
that is this amazing passage. I sense you manning still the ramparts of your
Oh yeah,
admiration
yeah,
for the
yeah.
son of darkness. Will I never scour
Runner
that
Scout
romance from your
from
vision?
your vision. Yeah,
Must I beat you about the head with his flaws, his errors in judgment, his obstinacy?
which
When
he
I read
does.
this the first time, I texted my friend like, what the fuck? How does Steve know that this is what I'm doing? Like it was so like it just hit me like personally, like Steve telling me, will you please shut up? I'm the son of darkness is, he's flawed and all that. But yeah, I didn't listen. So yeah. So anyway, and then he says that Kadaspala etched his god into life and was killed by it. And but for
Uh,
now,
Not
Kadaspala is
exactly. So
okay. Yeah, go on. You
okay,
know
yeah.
what? Can I just
What
tell our
Galan
listeners?
says,
Can I
yes, yes,
just tell that these
yes.
last 2 pages and the first 2 pages of this chapter, the one with all the italics, just please read
Mm-hmm.
them. Nobody can do justice to summarizing these things. Are you going to read them out now?
I am, yeah. I have at least the last bit.
The
You know,
last bit,
but
sure. Yeah, your best friend Kadaspala. Go on.
yeah. So Kadaspala edged his god into life in the end. Did you know that? He edged that god into life, and
Oh,
then,
what?
appalled at the
What?
long-awaited perfection of his talent, he killed them both. He does not mention who he is.
The
Now we
god.
know from Toll the Hounds
Oh,
that the godling killed Kadaspala and then died.
yeah.
Galan seems to insinuate that he is Kadaspala, which
I.
we
You're
know is
just.
not true.
You're just. No.
Uh, which is probably explains why Galan's Kadaspala feels so different. Plug.
You have spent too much time thinking about Kadaspala.
No. I mean,
No, but yeah, it's fair. We should ask the guy who read Karkanas first before Book of the
we
Fallen. Like,
probably
what
should.
did he think of this passage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're right because I didn't even stop to think about it. I was just like, oh yeah, the Godling killed them both, and yeah, this is
No.
what
Galan
happened.
is being very facetious here. Like at the long-awaited perfection of his
I
talent,
think I
bullshit.
should go back and read
He
this
even
thing
wrote
again.
Kadaspala as like he doesn't perfect his talent. He doesn't say, "I will behold, I will etch a god into life." He fails.
Actually, keep your book near you because the next bit is also fun. And then he says something like, "For now, let us set Karaspala aside. His
Yeah.
work is
Look to
done.
the
He can
look to the
a small
sculptor
symbol."
to advance people's suicide. That what it says?
Yeah.
Oh
No,
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 no, that's
not
later.
that. That's
Shit.
later.
No,
Yeah.
another sacrifice is necessary to advance people's suicide. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, and in his place, we need to drag forth a sculptor to carve a monument. But first, hear the tale. And there is only so much we can indulge before.
Before, hang on.
You
Tell me
know
what.
this. You know this already.
Before? What's before? Hang on.
The chorus grows restless.
Oh yeah.
And then read the last line, and then we'll be done.
I am known. Okay, yeah. Before the chorus grows restless and gives voice to its displeasure, I am known to flirt with impatience. No, surely
No.
that is an
No.
unjust accusation.
Awesome. Peak Erickson. This is what is
Yeah.
Peak Erickson.
This is
Oh,
what we
God.
mean when we say Big Erickson. Like, even superficially, even just reading the battle and not even missing the metaphor, just not caring. Like, okay, yeah, Haverald sees his because has PTSD. It works. It works really well because Ral is deliciously evil even on the surface.
Yeah.
Haverald works as a soldier. Who else is it? Renard
No,
is
even
fine.
that
She's watching a kid
I
die
think
and like, oh yeah, whatever that happened.
no, I think the breakout character here was that Sergeant Cullis, who brought up
Mhm.
matters of faith,
Yeah.
who said all these sorts of things like, "When will you speak, sir? We are sacks of blood and we are sweating." And
Like
isn't this
even
an
on the surface,
awesome,
this works, and then the deeper
awesome
you go,
first?
it gets better, and that's
Yeah.
what we mean when we say Big Erickson.
No, like even now, I think I should go back and reread the Gallant's things
Oh
in
yeah.
a bit more, in a bit less serious tone because I just took all this at face value. So, something
He's
to look
being
forward to.
incredibly facetious when it comes to Rosander. I
Let
don't
me
think he
see.
likes
Let me
him.
see.
I don't think Galan likes him.
Is this something to do with the audiobook? How does the audiobook handle it? I didn't listen to the first chapter, but
I don't think I've listened to the first chapter either. But in
okay.
general, given like Galan's predisposition towards justice and how he treats justice and how he like observes it through the book. I don't personally like it's less overt than Thunder. Like, oh yeah, you know, the son of must I beat you over the head with his obstinacy?
Oh God,
but
yeah.
He doesn't really seem to like him as much.
Maybe. So okay, for chapter 2, do you want to wind up here and then restart for chapter 2? Yeah, that's better. So thank you.
This is part 1, as you can tell. Chapter 1. This was indeed very fun. We apologize for the technically we have had issues that has led to, but we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye. Good night.